Right.
So,
Great.
thank you. Okay,
Thanks, Steve.
thank you.
With a minute to spare.
Need a motion to exit.
Aye.
Council Dumont. Aye. Council Kuiper. Aye. Council Cast.
Aye.
Council
What does it take to get down there? Now I can time it. It's not that long. Oh, there he is. I'd like to welcome everyone to the July 17th, 2019 Town Council meeting. We will start, as always, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So just a couple of comments that I wanted to point out that Councillor Burns is excused this evening. She's traveling. And Councillor Cast is participating on the phone.
Need a motion to seal the minutes in the non-public session.
I'll make a motion to seal the minutes from the non-public session.
Second.
Council Finch.
Aye.
Council Sanders.
Aye.
Council Dumont. Aye. Council Kuiper.
Aye.
Council Cast.
Aye.
Council Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Great. So our first item of business is public forum. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Mr. Pro.
Good evening. My name's Michael Provo. I live at 16 Beach Street. A longtime town resident, volunteer, and basically I retired about a year and a half ago, which gives me a lot of time to rabble-rouse and get in trouble. But I also retired from about 2.5 decades of doing economic development in downtowns and several communities in the state. And what I'm here tonight to talk to the council about is one of the partners that we partnered with in developing downtowns was AARP and the Livable Communities program. There are 14 communities in the state of New Hampshire which are livable communities. As an older person and a retired person, I'm very much aware now of the constraints and the pressures that are put on older residents in communities and the ability to stay in their homes and stay in their communities. Several years ago, there was a study done across the nation by AARP that said that 65% of the people interviewed over the age of 50 wish to age in place in their communities. And of that 65%, 85% wish to stay in their own homes. So I guess the question is are we doing all we can as communities to ensure that in a state with an aging population, and we are also an aging community, are we going to be able to keep that happening as the pressures go greater and the population ages? Newmarket, if you look at, there are scores nationwide that are done looking at it, different aspects of a community. We have a 93% walkability score, which is absolutely excellent. If you look under area vibes, we have a 71% livability score, but that pertains to younger people and younger professionals. If you look at a livability score according to the aging process, we are at 58%. So there's a huge gap there. The livabilities program basically is not something that you have to put lots of money into it as much as it is developing policies and a philosophical awareness when you're doing decision makings as to the effect that it's going to have on the communities. Becoming a livable community also makes a community eligible for AARP Foundation grants. Manchester just celebrated the institution of a downtown fitness park and dedication about a month ago. So, it's competitive, but there's also, some assistance there. So I guess the charge is, I know that you already had your goal setting, but going forward to think about the aging population in the community. There is a program that you can have AARP come in and show to the council on livable communities, and I do have that contact information. And I also have the report books from last year on livable communities so that you can each have a copy to bring home and peruse, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Can I pass these out?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then you got one,
Yep.
one to planning board.
Okay.
Thank you.
And for Amy.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
The numbers that you gave us
Yes.
are
Those
national
are
numbers.
those are national numbers.
Do you have New
No,
Hampshire?
no, the livability and the walkability scores, those are for Newmarket. It's based on national rankings,
Okay.
and they're done periodically. But the survey was based on national numbers.
Do you know, is there information for how we rate in New Hampshire?
How New Hampshire rates?
No,
Well,
how Newmarket compares to other.
Well,
like,
your
New Hampshire
livability
towns.
under the area vibes, we're 19th in the state. It's 71%, so you drop to 58. Definitely, there's other communities that would be. The only communities local, real close to us, that have stepped on with the program are Portsmouth and Dover.
Thank you.
The other communities are in the middle tier, and there's a cluster of about 8 that are in the Conway Valley. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. So the next item of business is for the town council to consider minutes, and we have our June 12th, 2019 goal-setting meeting minutes. I would accept a motion to approve those.
Make a motion to approve the June 12, 2019
Second.
Any changes, questions, concerns?
Council Finch.
Aye.
Council Sanders.
Aye.
Council Dumont. Aye. Council Kuiper.
Aye.
Council Cast.
Aye.
Council Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. The next meeting we have is June 26, 2019, regular meeting minutes. I would accept a motion to approve those.
Make a motion to accept the June 26, 2019 meeting minutes.
Second.
Any changes? Call the roll, please.
Council Finch.
Aye.
Council Sanders.
Aye.
Council Dumont.
Aye.
Council Kuiper.
Aye.
Council Cast.
Aye.
Council Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
And the next item is the town administrator's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I have two items that are not on my written report. We received a grant early this year for a continuation of operations government co-op plan. What that is what happens if something fails in government and we have to continue operating some way. Everything from my sudden departure to this building burns down. That's kind of items. Part of the grant, though, is I have to mention at a public meeting and make sure there's no objection. The town authorized me when I started here to accept grants on behalf of the council. For some reasons, the Homeland Security is asking that I just mention it at a public meeting, that we were receiving $4,000 and there's no objection from the town council to accept it. Our match is $4,000, which we made up in kind work, so it's all of our hours working on this. And since I note no objections, we should be fine there. The second item is that just for the public to be aware that I think everybody's heard the weather this weekend, that we're anticipating temperatures over 100 and feeling of 109 degrees. So we have gone ahead and we'll be opening cooling stations this Saturday from minimally it'll be 10 to 4 at the library. That'll allow people, encourage people who may not have air conditioning to go to the library just to sit and cool down for a while. If the crowd is large at that point in time, we will be activating a cooling center at the fire station. If anybody needs a cooling center later on and the library one may be closed, we ask you to call the police dispatch at 603-659-6636 and they'll assist you. In addition, if you cannot travel there yourself, please call that number, which again is 659-6636, and we will have somebody bring you to one of the cooling centers. We just don't want anybody to, the number one, FEMA has said that heat is the number one weather-related killer in the United States. And it's more than floods, more than hurricanes, more than anything else, so we just want to make sure people are safe. On my written report, you have attached the report of the facilitators for the town council goals for the coming fiscal year. Do you want to wait till after I go through my report to discuss?
Yeah, I think separately, yeah, please.
The second item is the Energy and Environment Committee has recommended installing an electronic vehicle charging station in the downtown area. The Code Enforcement Officer, Facilities Director, and I have been working on a quick and simple solution. What we're going to be doing will be taking one of the parking spots along the library closest to Main Street and set it up as a charging-only spot. We will install a Siemens VersaCharge electric vehicle charger, which is $488, and install the proper signage. One of the things we'll probably do is actually paint the spot green and say, look, electronic vehicle charging only, so we can make sure it's there. The cost of charging a vehicle is about 87 cents an hour. The cities of Dover and Portsmouth, since they already charge for parking, they can add it on to their meters that you're parking there. Durham charges using an app, but after pay the fees from doing the app, you don't make any money. So at this time, we're going to recommend not charging to use it, and we're looking at it almost as a promotion / economic development tool. It's going to bring people to downtown, and while they're sitting there waiting for their car to charge, they're going to visit downtown, the shops and the businesses, and we just see it as a plus there. I know we're meeting with the Energy and Environment Committee on Monday to discuss further. We looked into it, and it was kind of one of those simple low-hanging fruits, so we just moved forward with it. But yeah, just let them know. we are going to be replacing the sign on Town Hall. These are always the controversial items that always pop up. The current sign is from the early 1990s, and when we just moved into the building, the new sign is going to be similar to the sign of the Tiger Hose Company, black with gold lettering, to have a real distinct, sophisticated look. I did put a mock-up in the report, and it should be in a couple of weeks. Finally, the chair and I discussed a number of minor issues with the town charter and ordinances. I'd like to recommend that the council set up what I would be calling an ad hoc government operations committee to review these items. Anywhere from some of the items in the charter that we've noticed are one, it's only 3 days between when you get elected and sworn in as a town councilor. It's sort of throwing you guys in the deep end right away. We'd almost like to give you guys a month. So say you're elected in March, you're sworn in the first Monday of April. So you guys everybody can learn and see what's going on before you have to go to your first meeting. Other items are, I noticed that, so if the town council doesn't adopt a budget, it doesn't address by the deadline, it doesn't address whose budget goes on to the municipal budget committee. In cities, when a council doesn't adopt the budget, the town administrator's budget goes on to the next level. And I just want to get that clarified in there. There's a few other housekeeping things that we've discussed, and just wanted to see if we could form a committee of no more than 3, because we can't have a quorum to do that.
And some are charter, just to be clear, some are charter
Yep.
amendments,
Yep.
but some were also ordinances
Correct.
that we might want to change. So it wasn't at the level of another charter commission.
Right.
They really just slightly more than housekeeping.
And I'll say that there was the other one that has been brought up to me that we put on the list was the title of the chief administrative officer.
Mhm.
Whether it should be the TA or the town administrator or town manager, because while I have the title of town administrator, I have the statutory and legal authority of a town manager. And if you go to other town other than Newmarket or Durham, a town administrator has less authority than a town manager. If you go to, I actually have more authority than the town manager of Exeter under our form of government. So one of the other things we were discussing is, not that it's happening anytime soon, I hope, but if I were to leave and you were to advertise for the position, it's more attractive for individuals to put in if it's a town manager title than a town administrator because of that confusion. So those are the kind of items.
Councillor Cast?
Yes, I don't know if you're looking for volunteers for that committee. I'd be interested. But I did want to go back, if I could, to the EV charging station. I had a couple questions. One, I just wanted to know if there was any overlap with the permitted spaces that we had created a couple of years ago for people to use.
No, we actually removed one from the library along the wall. It's actually going to be on the building.
Okay, I mean, it was a permitted spot
No,
previously?
it was not. It was
Library
patron-
only, right?
Right. It was library patron only.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was a suggestion or question first, whether I'm going to assume you're already that more as a promotional type, to attract people to come to town, since we're not going to charge for it. My understanding from what you're saying is we're looking at to get people to come to town, right, and spend some time.
Right, so we would,
Sorry.
it's an economic opportunity.
Yes. So if that's the case, are we considering how to promote it?
Oh yeah, they're most people who own electric vehicles are on an app, so they can they punch in and they say, okay, where's the closest location, and it will say either it's free or they charge or you can't use it. But that's the number one. But as soon as that happens, we'll be placed on those apps, and that's how they find us. But I mean, we'll have signage there as well that looks like street signs, but they'll be green that say electronic vehicle charging spot only.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Dumont?
Yes, we'll start at the top and work our way down. I'm very happy to see EV charging stations, even though it's just one. very happy to see those rolling into town. I think that even just, knowing that there are some available does a lot to really attract people to the community, but also helps inform car purchases. I almost bought an EV myself, but the near make the extra 10-minute drive every day through the 108 construction. I see where it says listed Tesla provides grants for them, so I appreciate that you're looking towards private companies who may be willing to sponsor. One of the big things when I was at UNH was potentially the VW diesel emissions scandal. I know that there was a lot of grant money on the table to potentially pull from. There might be some more sources out there that we can tap to start expanding these if one goes over well, which I would strongly encourage.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, the reason why we're not going for the grant on this point, it probably costs us less not to go for it than if we went for it with the amount of time that staff would have to take to fill out the forms. They're like, this is really inexpensive.
Yeah. No, and I fully understand that. And then the last thing that I had, Government Operations Committee, I would also strongly like to volunteer for that. I think that there's some great work that can be done on there, and I'm very happy to see that this is being proposed.
Seeing no other names, I had a couple comments that I wanted to make. Obviously, the EV charging station I'm thrilled about, and look forward to expanding that. I think that it's the future. I think it says a lot about Newmarket looking toward the future. Just that we're going to be installing, even though it's just one. It's the beginning, and there will be more to come, I'm sure. So I appreciate you looking into that. I wanted to also comment on the department reports. There was an item, it was actually in from our meeting last month, and I forgot to mention it then, but it was in the police report again this month, so I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about body cameras for a second. It was 5 years ago? Several years ago, when Chief Sear was here. I was on the council at the time, and we approved the purchase of body cameras, and there was some concerns about data and how that would be stored, and at the time he decided that he just didn't have enough information to go through with the purchase, which made total sense. I absolutely supported the purchase of body cameras, the use of body cameras by our police department. I think that it's important for the safety of our police as well as the safety of our community. We've, knock on wood, have never had that level of concern in Newmarket. I like to think that we never will, but you never know. And I want our police department to be confident. I want our community to be confident. So along those lines, I wanted to mention that I think that the process that Chief True is going through is very thoughtful, and I really appreciate his choice to pilot the program and see how it works before then asking the council to approve funding again. So I just wanted to mention that I really appreciate the work that he's doing on that program.
Coincidentally, I observed the program today.
Oh.
I saw the cameras and we discussed it, and he says it's going very well. The officers, I don't know if enjoy is the right term, but they don't have an issue with the cameras at this point in time. They understand that it's a tool for both sides. That, and not that we're expecting anything, but it just is that extra level of certainty for everybody. So it's going very well right now.
And I assume that the data concerns have been
Addressed.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of it will be cloud-based. the legislature has addressed, at that point in time, it was more the law issues on their end, but the legislature has addressed those, so we can start doing that.
Great. Counselor Sanders.
Looking also at the police department report, I would just like to commend the department for the, I was looking at the drug-related numbers, and their intervene and assist with recovery as opposed to arrest and incarcerate, and I would love to commend them for those numbers. What a difference over the 4 years.
It has gone down consistently.
Yeah.
And I would say I've worked when Newmarket ASAP was founded. I was involved in that, and I worked with Chief True, and his commitment to that issue and improving the lives of people who have substance use disorder here in Newmarket is really commendable.
Just for the public to know, I think the numbers, reading them out loud, is kind of staggering. 2015, we had 45 overdoses and 4 deaths. 16, we had 22 overdoses and 2 deaths. 17, we had 15 overdoses and 2 deaths. 18, we only had 6 overdoses and 2 deaths. This year, we've had 1 overdose and no deaths, and we're already halfway through the year. So.
Yep. So, goal setting?
Sure.
Thank you.
Everybody should receive the report from Rick Alpers from our goal setting. I looked through it. He asked me to look through it. I didn't see anything glaringly wrong or for the goals for the coming year. The 3 things to address in some of the projects to go forward.
So just for the community, everyone watching from home tonight, the goals that are in the report, we had a lengthy meeting on the 12th of June where each counselor talked about the goals that they wanted to work on, and then as a council we kind of hashed that out, and together with Primex they were able to really take all of these different things and put them into 3 workable goals for the council. And so goal 1 is economic development. We talked about the Wilson Farm, we talked about shared services, we talked about developing the waterfront, and continuing sidewalk improvements, and expanding where that's possible. So that's our economic development. Quality of life was goal number 2. So we talked about congestion, commuter traffic. We talked about looking at ride sharing opportunities. Parking obviously has been a big one. I think that the information that we got from Mr. Provo kind of fits into all of that, and I think we'll definitely be looking at that moving forward. And then sustainability was our 3rd goal, which was exploring renewable energy, which has been an ongoing concern. We've talked about where we're at, what we've done so far, which was composting, and now this EV charging station, and some solar projects that we've been talking about and will hopefully come to fruition soon. I'll talk about that later, but the Energy and Environment Committee has been talking about doing a carbon footprint, so that we have a sense of, we want to complete a survey so we know what our current footprint is, so that we can talk about reducing it, and then just efficiency. So those were the 3 goals that we came up with. Do we want to, first, if anybody has any comments about that, but do we need to take a vote to formally approve them, or?
I think it's good to have a vote on the record, just to.
I think so.
Yeah.
So before we have any more conversation, I would accept a motion to approve those 3 goals.
I'll make a motion to approve the 3 goals listed in the 2019 goal setting report.
Second.
Counselor Cast?
I just had a question before we vote. I wanted to just get a readout as to whether the specific bullet points under each goal, things can change during the year. Are we free to add or subtract things during the year?
Yeah. Yeah, it's usually it's a living document, because there's going to be things that we just may not achieve, and we can add something else in there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Seeing no further buttons?
Council Finch.
Aye.
Council Sanders.
Aye.
Council Dumont.
Aye.
Council Kuiper.
Aye.
Council Cast.
Aye.
Council Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right, so committee reports. Are there any committee reports?
I'll give a brief one for the Conservation Commission. The big couple of things that came up presented to the Conservation Commission was just a reminder that Heron Point is sunrise to sunset, so make sure to exit before sunset. And the other thing that the commission met with for some initial information was about a living shoreline on the waterfront, so more information will be forthcoming, but any work that may be done down there, a living shoreline could be part of it to help kind of bolster the waterfront from erosion and things like that. So we're kind of just looking at options, and that's very preliminary stages on that. And that's, this Saturday there was supposed to be a tour of all the conservation sites in the morning, but forecast being 99 degrees, that's going to be postponed, and it will be rescheduled and put out on the Newmarket Conservation Commission Facebook and Instagram pages once that rescheduled date comes up. So hope to see everyone there.
I will just mention that I stood in for Councilor Cast at the planning board meeting Tuesday last week. I won't go into too much detail because we're still not as well versed in the planning board's operations. I'll say that the meeting went smooth, and we got to hear, which was actually quite interesting to me, the developing stages of a construction project happening at the top of Percy Lane near Durrell Drive. Some housing units potentially going in there. At least for a somewhat new councilor's perspective, it was very interesting to see how efficient and well detailed those folks are on the planning board. So I sincerely appreciate their efforts. There was also some discussion about impact fees and their role in Newmarket. I've been inundated with a bunch of literature to go through. Nothing major on that front, but just some questions about where they came from, what they've been doing, and how they've been helping or hindering the community over the past decade or so. Light reading, but interesting nonetheless.
Seeing nobody else. The Energy and Environment Committee met last week, and just a few updates that I wanted to mention. We're still one of the focuses of the committee at the moment is still talking about the use of our weed control program, and what we're currently doing versus what and the cost of that versus some of the options that might be available. There aren't a lot of options, and we had a demonstration from a company that sells steam machines, and one of the committee members has monitored the progress of the weed growth, and it's been pretty positive. Positive from a weed control perspective. But the flip side of that is that Dover they bought their own steam machine, and they are really struggling at the moment. So we're closely monitoring that situation and talking to the person who's in charge of that program in Dover. It's a big expense, so it's something that sometimes it's nice to not be the groundbreakers, you know, and to let another community test it out. So we're watching that. One of the other things that we've been talking about is we currently, because we met with the DPW director, Rick Mulaski, back in May about this program, and it is, and you can opt out. So if the sidewalk is in front of your home, you can opt out, and there's a process for that. And so we're working on cleaning up that language and making that information available to the community. So that's coming. EV station, obviously, that's something that we've already talked about. We're also working on putting together a greenhouse gas inventory. That's going to be, it's a big project, and one of the newest members of the committee, this is what he does. So we're really lucky to have him on board, and he is, you know, it's going to be like, I don't know, 80 hours of work or something. So it's a lot for a volunteer on a committee to take on. So we're really appreciative of that. And the last item is we are talking about, we had done a button-up presentation, which is about making your home more environmentally friendly and just more efficient. So we did that back in the fall. And so we're talking about doing sort of a similar type of event with Revision Energy. Then they would come in and talk about solar. You know, they do a lot these days, so it's not just solar, and talk about kind of the options available to homeowners. So stay tuned for that. And Councilor Dumont, did you have?
Yeah, I was wondering if you could clarify. I'm not sure if I just missed it. When you said that Dover was struggling a little bit with their weed program, is it the regrowth of the weeds that they had steamed, or just the implementation of the steam machine itself hitting all the areas?
It's both. Yeah, so they're having problems with the actual machine. They had rigged up this whole system. You know, they put it on like an ATV, and then they built this arm. Like, it was a big deal. It was in the paper, but it's not really working the way that they thought it would, and they're having a hard time with the manpower that it's taking. They also have, you know, 3 times as many,
Of course.
you know, sidewalks as we do, which on the one hand justifies the bigger expense too. So, so they're, you know, we'll see how they manage.
Do you know offhand if they're sticking just with steam right now, or if they're doing a combination of steaming some areas and chemically treating others?
I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But thank you for you're looking into that. Certainly one of those things that I keep coming back to out of just genuine curiosity.
No other committee reports. We are in resolutions in the second reading, so we have Resolution 2018-2019-46, which is the water and sewer truck number 12 replacement. I would accept a motion to approve that resolution.
I would make a motion to approve Resolution 2018-2019-46.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Grigg.
Good evening. Truck 12 is a Ford 350 with a utility body on the back. Our trucks are swapped out every 12 years is the schedule. The truck was purchased in 2007, so we're right at the 12-year mark. We sent it in and had it looked at. What does the truck do? The truck is 50% water, 50% sewer. It does all the plowing for us. It has a utility on the body on the back with a crane to lift up hydrants and pipe. It also has hydraulics on it, so we can use hydraulic tools like jackhammers, pumps, and other things. We took it over to Auto Excellence. They're estimating, you know, in the $15,000, $16,000 range to get the truck up to par, back to where we can use it for the next year. Since that's about a 25% of the cost of the truck, I went and got a state bid from Grapponi Ford. And state bid is for the truck itself, the 350, and for the plow for $36,115. Grapponi also went out and they work with Hughes, which we'd have to swap over the crane and all the hydraulics and put the utility body on the back, and also Linex. When we got the bids back, it appeared that Rochester Truck was the cheapest. However, they do not do the Linex. So when you actually look at the cost comparison between Grapponi, Hughes, and Rochester Truck, there's about little less than $200 difference. But the big difference is if we do it through Grapponi, we bring it there, they do it, and we don't have to drive it around. If we go through Rochester Truck, I have to bring it over to Rochester Truck after I purchase the truck, and then I have to go get a Linex after. So I'm recommending that we go with Grapponi and Hughes. To do that work, Grapponi's charging us $100 to coordinate all that work. So that's where we're at.
I don't see any counselors have any questions. I do have just a couple comments that I wanted to make. So first of all, we're reusing.
We're reusing the crane and the hydraulics.
Right.
What we're getting is a new truck with a utility body on the back, and then we're bringing all the other equipment over because it's in great shape.
So I was happy to see that.
Yeah.
And this is just more of a general comment. I think that we've gotten out of the process of including the capital equipment, the schedule in the resolution. So it's helpful to have that background information. I had asked the town administrator to provide that. The other thing that wasn't in the backup information was the information from Auto Excellence.
Yes.
So having that information was important for me to know.
It was in the file and it just got missed and getting scanned in. Sorry about that.
So I appreciate that we have that. I think that that's important for background.
So ideally what happens is when we buy a truck, we just take the amount we paid for it, divide it by 12, and put the money aside. It generally comes up a little short, but because we do that for all the trucks, there's over $100,000 in each account for trucks, so there's plenty of money there.
Seeing no other buttons, I'll call the roll.
Council Finch.
Aye.
Council Sanders.
Aye.
Council Dumont. Aye. Council Kuiper.
Aye.
Council Cast.
Aye.
Council Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is Resolution 2018-2019-47, agreement with Wright Pierce Engineer Services for the Bay Road Culvert Replacement Project. I would accept a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2018-2019-47.
Second.
Did you want to?
Yeah, I'll take it. As the council's aware, for the past few years, since 2014, we've been working on replacing a crushed corrugated metal culvert at Lumberland Creek on Bay Road. We've been working with the Nature Conservancy and Wright Pierce since then. And we're going to replace it with a new 16-foot wide concrete box culvert. It had multiple benefits, including restoring aquatic connectivity with the ecosystem to allow fish passage, enhancing the resiliency of the Lumberland Creek salt marsh as an important environmental resource by removing existing tidal restrictions, and remediating a flood hazard as it's crossing, which overtops all the time during flood events. The town received 2 grants from the Department of Environmental Services, totaling $275,553 to undertake this replacement project in conjunction with the Nature Conservancy and the Department of Public Works. We received a proposal from Wright Pierce to provide construction engineer services for the amount of $26,720 for this project. This includes coordination, monitoring, and reporting for the town wetlands to DES, as well as a part-time resident project representatives during construction. We did not formally go out to bid due to the fact that they've been working on this project since day one, and to go out to bid, somebody would have to come back and review all the documents again, and we just thought it was more cost effective to continue on with the Wright Pierce. There is no financial impact since this will be taking the money from the grant for this. The way we're making up the remaining amount is in kind. The Department of Public Works is actually going to be doing a lot of the work out there to replace the culvert. During that time, and we will have the definite date of the time that it will be closed. I believe it is the 12th of August, and it will go till end of September. But Bay Road will be closed in order to replace this. It's a pretty significant undertaking. So if you live on the other side, you're going to have to go through Durham. If you live on this side, you're not going to be able to take the loop in. But as soon as it's done, it should be much better for everyone involved. We will notify everybody by signs and calls and notices that we're closing. So I'm recommending that we approve the resolution to authorize me to sign the agreement with Wright Pierce for the contract for the engineering services.
Councillor Dumont.
Just a couple items. I'm very happy to see that there's no direct fiscal impact. I think that's phenomenal that we were able to get 2 grants from NHDES. I'm curious, there seems to be a bit of an extensive timeline to get to this point where we're able to do the construction. Did you find in your experience that that's typical to go from recognizing that it needs to be replaced to the design and then actually implement?
Oh, absolutely, because money.
Okay, fair enough.
It
It looks like a great project.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to see what it's like when it's done, but just seeing it started in 2014, yeah, all right, that's
It's actually pretty short for one of these size projects.
alrighty then. I guess it's good news.
Yeah.
Did you say, maybe I missed it, how long the road would be closed for?
Over a month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're looking probably the 12th to the end of September. And that just gives us time. We have to do it during a certain period of time because of the wetlands. But remember, it may be dry at that period of time, but it's also hurricane season. So we want to make sure we give enough time in case a flooding incident comes out and we have to redo anything.
And so you mentioned signage, and obviously for anyone who drives through there,
We'll do a
the sign-
reverse
but-
911 and
yeah,
yeah,
and some sort of notification
Yep.
for the people who live on the
absolutely.
road. Yeah. Councillor Sanders.
How will that impact school busing in that area? Does it affect any of the school children?
It shouldn't, because I don't believe there's any children north of the cutout.
Okay,
So yeah, we'll double check.
because that could make a very long
Yep.
bus ride.
Councillor Cast.
I had the same question about emergency services.
That situation, mutual aid kicks in. A few years ago, Durham replaced their bridge on their side of the property, and all we do is it's mutual aid. We get there first. We'll take care of it. If there's such a situation, they get there first. They'll take care of it.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Dumont.
Similar to Councillor Sanders' concerns with school busing, have you heard any complaints or concerns from the residents who live in that area about the impact? Are we expecting or anticipating anything?
No, not really. Haven't heard a thing.
Good.
I mean, we've been discussing it long enough. I think they know it's coming.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Anytime you do a project like this, they don't say anything until we actually break ground. So I'm expecting it the day after.
Well, and if I remember correctly, gosh, I think this was my first year on the council, and I was on the Conservation Commission, and we had a presentation at the time. I mean, obviously the people from, there were some residents from Moody Point, and so they were involved in the process, and so they're aware.
Right. Yeah.
The inconvenience factor will always be a concern, I'm sure, but I think people appreciate the project happening.
Right.
I guess is my point. Then I think we are all set to call the roll.
Councillor Finch.
Aye.
Councillor Sanders.
Aye.
Councillor Dumont.
Aye.
Councillor Kuiper.
Aye.
Councillor Cast.
Aye.
Council Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
And we have no resolutions in the first reading. Any correspondence?
Who wants to be in?
No nominations. Any closing comments by town councilors? Did you have something, Councilor Cast?
I just wanted to know what the next step is for that committee the administrator was proposing.
If there's a
Thank you.
third member and the council agrees, then we can try to set up a meeting at some point.
I'd like to serve on that one.
Councilor Kuiper?
I was just gonna say that I could too, but go for it.
We can flip for it.
We can just share any ideas or suggestions.
Yeah.
There's just one bicycle ordinance that really got my eyes.
So we have 4 people who are interested in serving on that committee. It's Councilor Cast, Councilor Dumont, Councilor Sanders, and Councilor Piper. How do we want to?
If one wants to
Proceed.
withdraw, they can.
I will withdraw my,
There you go.
yeah.
There we go. And that makes life easy. Do we need a formal motion?
Yes.
Okay. So I would accept a motion to form the Government Operations Committee and can I do it in one motion?
Yep.
And appoint Councilors Cast, Dumont, and Sanders to that committee.
Were you making the motion or were you looking?
No, I'm looking for a motion. Sorry.
I will make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Councilor Cass, did you have something else, or did I miss this from before? Was this from before?
Oh, yeah, that must be from before.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. No, I missed it.
I just realized I hadn't canceled it. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so I seconded the motion.
Thank you.
I don't know if that was audible.
Yes. Yeah, then we can call the roll, please.
Councilor Finch.
Aye.
Councilor Sanders.
Aye.
Councilor Dumont.
Aye.
Councilor Kuiper.
Aye.
Councilor Cast.
Aye.
Councilor Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
And the only other comment that I would make is that we don't meet for a month. And because we have no resolutions in the first reading, it means we won't have any resolutions in the second reading. So it should most likely be a pretty light meeting. So, I mean, perhaps we can talk a little bit about those goals too, because I know we've talked about a parking committee. I mean, we've talked about some other committees and just maybe laying down some of the groundwork for some of those goals, so that that was one thing that I know I've heard commented about, making sure, you know, we went, it was an extra meeting, it's a long process, a lot of thought goes into putting all of that together and having Primex come in and do that for us. We don't want it to just be a piece of paper that gets filed away, and we want to make sure that we, as a council, you know, not just for the town administrator, but for the council, that we continue to focus on them. So maybe we could set some time aside for that. And seeing no, quick.
I'll make it quick. As you folks remember, Councilors Finch, Sanders, and myself, we had our events scheduled that we were doing our conversations with councilors. The next event is for sometime in September, that autumn time period. My personal suggestion is that any folks who are thinking about volunteering for that meeting, which again, we're looking for volunteers, with us having a fairly large chunk of time leading up to that with no meetings in between, it might be good to get together and start brainstorming, such as the three of us have done, to kind of get your agenda in place, to know what you're talking about and what you're going to be looking for in terms of needs. But just something to keep on the back burner.
And which one of us was gonna break off into that group?
I have Councilor Sanders,
Okay.
Steve, and we need 2 volunteers.
I'd be happy to volunteer for that.
I would also if you need another person.
Wonderful.
The only issue I may see is it may come too late.
Right.
The topic is the hearings are going to be starting next week. So, but we'll play by ear. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
And the tweet could be just talking about how taxation actually does work. 'Cause there's
Yeah.
somebody there. The idea is to inform the public. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's not about.
That's a good point. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know,
Yep.
hey, your property went up 75 grand. Why is
Right.
that? More of a, you know,
It might be better for
Yeah.
it not to be.
Specific.
Yeah. So, I do actually before we adjourn, I do have one other comment. I'm going to put in a little plug for a program that is brand new in town, and it was mentioned at our last meeting. Councillor Sanders and I are both involved in this, and it's a new initiative to with a couple goals. One is to reduce some items that go into landfill, and the other is to reduce the single-use plastic bags in the community. And then in between those two goals, to create a little community and focus on bringing different people together to do some sewing. So we are continuing to collect fabric. Tomorrow is our first sewing event, and we're going to be at the library from 4 to 6. We're going to be meeting at the library monthly on the third Thursday of every month from 4 to 6 to sew, to get together, to connect, to talk about, to do some education about reducing plastics. And then we'll be making these bags that we'll distribute for free in the community. So they should be available probably. We have to work out some of those details, but the farmers market and the library, possibly also the senior center. And one of the things that, I've been really lucky over the years to kind of have my hand in a lot of different parts of the community. And so, I've already talked to a group from the senior center who should probably, people will be helping. We know people in the Girl Scouts, people, who from a lot of different parts of my life in Newmarket. So bringing some of those people together to for this great cause, I'm really excited about. So if you have time, if you're around between 4 and 6, you want to stop by and see what we're doing, you're more than welcome. You don't have to sew. You don't have to be a sewer. There's lots of other tasks. We also accept cookies. So, so with that, we are adjourned.